I wanted to share with you guys all of the wins that the Trump administration had this week alone. As of today, February 7th, I am lucky enough to receive the White House communication emails. So I'm going to read this one to you, and it's entitled, "The Wins Keep Coming Under President Trump." President Donald John Trump took office with a promise to usher in a new golden age of America, and he continues to deliver win after win at historic speed. Here are just a few from this past week. 1. The Trump administration is busy securing America, and by transferring the worst of the worst criminal illegal aliens to Guantanamo Bay ahead of their repatriation back to their own countries. Next, following President Trump's imposition of tariffs, Mexico announced a deployment of 10,000 troops to the border to combat illegal immigration and fentanyl trafficking, and Canada announced a flurry of measures to combat fentanyl manufacturing and trafficking. Next, Children's Hospital in Los Angeles stopped giving puberty blockers to minors following President Trump's executive order banning sex changes for minors. Next, President Trump ended the unfair, demeaning practice of forcing women to compete against men in sports, which resulted in the NCAA changing its rules. Then President Trump proposed a bold vision for securing lasting peace in Gaza, which former U.S. Ambassador to Israel David Friedman described as brilliant, historic, and the only idea I have heard in 50 years that has a chance of bringing security, peace, and prosperity to this troubled region. Then President Trump has had his cabinet confirmed by the Senate at a far faster pace than his predecessor. As of February 7th, 2025, most of President Trump's 21 cabinet and cabinet-level nominations have been confirmed. Attorney General Pam Bondi immediately got to work ending the weaponization that has plagued the Department of Justice in recent years, rooting out politically motivated lawfare that occurred in the Biden administration, pausing funding for so-called sanctuary cities, addressing the threat of Hamas and its affiliates here and abroad, and eradicating anti-Christian bias within the federal government. Next, President Trump laid out a visionary plan to establish a sovereign wealth fund to maximize the stewardship of the $5+ trillion in assets held by the United States. I should have warned you this was going to be a long list, but let's continue. President Trump stopped the waste, fraud, and abuse happening within USAID, which you all know about, I'm sure, ensuring taxpayers are no longer on the hook for funding pet projects of entrenched bureaucrats such as sex changes in Guatemala. Then, following a visit from Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Panamanian President Jose Raul Mulino agreed to withdraw from the Chinese Belt and Road Initiative, a debt trap diplomacy scheme the Chinese Communist Party uses to gain influence over developing nations. Next, President Trump has already downsized the federal workforce by more than 2.5%. President Trump also banned funding to UNRWA, a United Nations agency which employed hundreds of Hamas and Jihad operatives. Next, President Trump ordered the termination of all federal media contracts so taxpayers aren't on the hook for subsidizing fake news publications. Then, President Trump ordered a review of all non-governmental organizations so taxpayers are no longer funding those that undermine America's interests. Then, President Trump imposed sanctions on the International Criminal Court, which has illegitimately asserted jurisdiction on internal U.S. matters and baselessly targeted Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Finally, Japanese Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba announced his intention to elevate Japan's investment in the United States to an unprecedented amount of $1 trillion now that President Trump is back in office. What a week it's been. So much winning. And it's only week 3. Strap in.